Hello, Nevada, and good afternoon. My name is Heidi Posada, and I am mostly happy to be here presenting to you this afternoon. I do apologize. I know this was supposed to be at noon, and that's why I'm only mostly happy. I wish we could have done this at noon and provided this as a live presentation. That would have allowed a lot more Q&A and a bit more interaction. But unfortunately, the internet in our office got so bad today that the team was sent home. Of course, it's the week that the IT director goes to Mexico for vacation that this kind of thing happens. But so I do want to apologize that I won't be able to answer questions throughout the presentation, that this is just on demand for you all. I hope you still were able to take advantage of your Uber Eats, and we'll still get the information here. And my colleague Janessa, who you probably received this recording from, will also be scheduling any follow-up meetings and able to answer questions either through her or via me. So hopefully you're still happy with the information you're getting. Again, I do apologize that this is not live, but guess the benefit is now, like everything, it's on demand, and you can watch it at your leisure. So with no further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. First of all, my name is Heidi Posada, and I am the member recruitment manager here at 501c Services. I started here about 15 years ago. Prior to that, I worked at the YMCA of Silicon Valley as a youth sports director, and then moved on to be an associate executive director for the YMCA. And after that, I went to the American Cancer Society, where I worked a lot with volunteers and fundraising. So I really enjoy now going from the fundraising side to the saving money side. So all those that work side by side, people that might do galas, you can say, hey, this what we're talking about now might save them money for a few valued at a few auction items, if you can look at it that way. So I am home, and so I do like to introduce my pup Hunter. He's sleeping in the other room now, so I don't think he's coming in for a visit. But if you hear some barking, that's that cute little border collie mix. So a quick review of what we'll be talking about today. First is just how the unemployment insurance program works. Then I'll be talking about specific options that you have as a 501c3 nonprofit and how the special alternative of reimbursing works for you. Then I'll show you some quick examples of of how it was definitely beneficial for some nonprofits we've talked to recently. And then I'll review what our company 501c Services does. So first of all, I really like to go back. I really like to talk about the history of unemployment and kind of where it started and how we got to where we are today. So from the creation of our country to the 1930s, there was no unemployment. I think Wisconsin, maybe a handful of other states did something like the unemployment program, but it was really the New Deal that brought in unemployment benefits to give people who lost their job at no fault of their own a safety net until they found their next job. From the 1930s until the 1970s, anybody that worked for a nonprofit did not benefit from unemployment benefits. And that is because nonprofits did not pay into the unemployment system. So that's great. You know, you as the finance person didn't have to deal with it. You as the HR person didn't have to manage unemployment claims. So it's all sounds pretty good if you're in the administrative office. But at the same time, it's, you know, we are happy now that nonprofits do provide unemployment to their employees. So it was 1972 that nonprofits did have to start. The Social Security Act of 1972 is what said, okay, nonprofits now have to pay into the state unemployment. Your employees will start benefiting from that same safety net that everybody else is getting. But they gave a little concession. The Congress said, we're going to give you some options. I suspect it's because nonprofits have traditionally lower turnover, and they don't want you overpaying into a tax if you're not using that full amount. So first we'll talk about how the default, how what most of you are probably familiar with works, and that is the state unemployment insurance program. Well, first off, big picture, state unemployment is managed big picture by the federal government, but each state determines taxable wages, how rates are calculated. And so in every state, there is a taxable wage base, and every state calculates it differently, but a employer tax rate. And so the way it works for the SUI pool is the state tells you what your taxable wages are, they figure out your tax rate, and you pay what they tell you to pay. You can manage your costs to some degree. You can keep your claims down, and really do diligence on managing those claims. You can protest claims, you can audit claims. But at the end of the day, the state could turn around and increase your taxable wages. And then all of a sudden, all the due diligence you've done to manage those claims, you're now suddenly paying more. So that is, but that is the basics of the state unemployment pool. If we were live, I might do a little survey here, and just talk about what a single claim in Nevada can cost. So what we're looking at is basically how much can an employee who files for unemployment and they get the full amount, how much could that potentially cost you, or basically how much could they receive? And the total is $15,704. So a little anticlimactic without the survey on the side, but it is $15,704 is the maximum someone in Nevada can claim. So whether you're reimbursing, which is what I'm going to talk about in a minute, or you're paying in the state tax system, you really do want to manage these claims, because if you have $15,000 against you, if you're reimbursing, that's $15,000 expense for you. If you're paying the tax system, that's $15,000 that's going towards your experience. And, similar to car insurance, if you have a lot of claims, your rate's going to go up. So it's all about experience rating if you're paying the state unemployment. So in Nevada, here's just a snapshot of what's happening there right now. Maximum weekly benefit amount is $604. That's kind of right in the middle, I would say, maybe a little on the high end compared to a lot of states, but so the maximum someone can qualify for right now is $604 per week. Taxable wage base is 41,800. That's a little on the high side. The minimum that federal government says it can be is $7,000, and that's actually what California pays right now, is $7,000. So 41,800 is up there. There is no maximum what they can say. So if the pool starts drying up, the state could certainly always increase that wage base. The minimum tax rate, there's definitely incentive to manage your claims tightly and audit them, because a 0.3 tax rate is pretty low. So if you can manage to get a 0.3 tax rate, that is fantastic. Maximum tax rate, 5.4%. So again, that's a pretty big range of taxes. So definitely beneficial to manage your taxes, whether you're paying by reimbursing or tax rate. And the estimated improper payment rate, that's the 20% almost. That's pretty high. And this is directly from the Department of Labor. And this is the estimate on the errors that the state of Nevada makes when they pay out unemployment benefits. So it could be they're calculating base period wrong. It could be that they're not collecting information that people are looking for jobs. It's all sorts of different reasons, but ultimately it comes down to almost 20% improper payment to former employees. And that is something, whether you're paying taxes or reimbursing, you don't want to be a part of. So hopefully you're able to audit your claims when possible. And so again, audit your claims. So, and that does go to the improper payments in Nevada. It's estimated over almost $200 million in overpayments over the last 3 years. So that's a lot of money. And so if you're able to audit your charges, that's something we can do on your behalf. But if you are also able to audit your charges, that can really help you save money, either by keeping your tax rate low or keeping your weekly claims that you're paying for low. So the options that you have as a nonprofit: first, pay the state tax, which I've talked about a little bit. The second is to reimburse, and then the third is to buy insurance. So how reimbursing works, it's really not a great solution for everyone. For the vast majority, it's a great option, but really not for everyone. If you have a gross annual payroll of $1 million or less, this might not be something worth considering. We can certainly take a look at your numbers. I don't want to discourage you from at least taking a look at it. But it really is usually if you have a payroll that low, your taxes are pretty low, your taxable wage base is pretty low. So one large claim could end up costing more than you pay in an SUI over 1 or 2 years. So, but we can still help you take a look at the numbers if you have a smaller payroll. We also want to make sure, and I know the pandemic claims are a little bit off the radar. We want to make sure for the most part that your claims have been less than what you paid in SUI over the last 3 years. It's not, again, with pandemic claims and certain anomalies that may have happened, it's not always going to be the case, but we do want to look at a history of your claims and compare that to what you're paying in SUI. And also looking ahead, I know that there's a lot, a lot of uncertainty. And if you're currently paying in the SUI program and you are concerned about massive funding losses, we would want to definitely talk about that and how realistic that is before you switched from the SUI to reimbursing. So what it means to reimburse is simply you pay dollar for dollar for your unemployment claims. So in many cases, it means you're no longer overpaying the state pool. Most organizations on average pay about $2 for every $1 they get back. So we don't want to see you doing that. I just met with someone this morning that's paying 80,000 in taxes and only averaging 20,000 in claims. So a lot of organizations are way overpaying into that pool. So by reimbursing the state, instead of taking that taxable wage base and tax rate and charging you for that, they are just going to charge you for your actual claims. So that's typically many times a great way to save money. So what does that mean if someone leaves your organization? If someone files for unemployment, are you now taking on extra responsibility? No. The good news is if they file for unemployment, they still file with the state. The state still determines their weekly benefit amount. The state still manages that payment. The only difference is when the state bills you, you just get billed for that exact amount of the claim. So general benefits, the biggest one is saving money. Right now, if we did an analysis and we said, here's some money to save, again, I go back to the gala model, that's one less major auction item maybe that has to be sold, or one less phone night for your volunteers to do, or just, fundraising might be getting harder. So that's, saving money on the other side might be able to help those that are bringing in the dollars. So big opportunity to save money. Another is it avoids tax hikes and increases. Again, I said the state can increase taxable wages, they can change how they calculate taxes, they have different tax tables. So you avoid all of those things that the state can do. And what I like to say again is you're a better fit for stewards of public funds. So you are spending exactly what the cost is. You're not overpaying into a pool if you're reimbursing. Uh, and also a lot of people ask about how I'm in Nevada, but I'm right in Carson City and we have staff in California. Or, our headquarters are in Nevada, but we have staff in 30 states. This option is available in all 50 states, and we can work with you and all of those employees. We have a handful of members that do have a headquarters in one city, but have staff in all 50 states. So that is something we can definitely work with if you have a lot of staff in a lot of different states. So again, I'm going to show you some real examples of what's happened, of some cost assessments that we've done. First, the taxable wage base again in Nevada is 41,800. The tax range is 0.3 to 5.4%. So what does that mean? That means one person earning 41,800 for a 0.3%, you'd be paying $125 per employee for everybody that made up to 41,000 or 40, basically, let's just say 42,000. If your tax rate's 5.4%, that goes all the way up to over $2,200 per employee. So, couple takeaways there. Well, the primary takeaway is manage your claims. Manage your claims. If you're paying taxes, you want to audit your claims, protest claims. I know we want people to have the safety net, but be aware of what that could cost you down the road. If that hikes up your tax rate, that's a pretty significant cost. If you have even 10 employees, that's the difference between $1,000 or $20,000. So just keep that in mind, what managing your tax rate can look like and how it can help you. So I'm going to skip this for now. I'm going to move on to the savings examples. So here's a couple. I'm going to show you a couple examples of real savings analysis we've done with some information we've collected from other nonprofits. So this was a human services nonprofit. Their taxable payroll was $964,000. They had a 4.7 tax rate. They, over 3 years, only had an average claims of $200. So what does that mean? If we take the taxable payroll and tax rate, we were estimating about 45,000 in taxes. So of 45,000 annual, $45,000 annual savings in taxes. So that's pretty significant. Way overpaying into the tax pool. Another example, this it was an SPCA that we talked to, and they had a taxable payroll 700,000, tax rate 3.3%. They only had annual claims of 5,900. They weren't paying quite as much in taxes at 24,000, but they still had $18,000 in savings, and that's every year. So that savings adds up. That's, that's some good things that you can do, put back into your mission. Some great programs that can be offered with that. So I'll go back to the tax rate notice. We can do an analysis for you. We can, collect data and do something similar for you so that you can see what your potential savings can be. We gather that information through the tax rate notice that the state sends out. Nevada sends theirs in December. And when we follow up, Janessa is going to follow up with all of you, and we will send you a copy of this. If we can get this, typically a few years worth of your tax rate notice can really help us. The tax rate notice here is showing us what your rate is, what your taxable wages are, and then it shows us cumulative. So what since you started as an organization, what you've paid cumulatively in claims and benefit and taxes. It's a good snapshot, but what if we could get a few years of this, it helps us look year by year and see what you're paying year by year and give a good idea of what the next future years could look like. So 501c services, that's who I'm representing, who I work for. We were founded in 1982 by John Huckstead, who was a nonprofit executive. He worked for UCP, and he wanted to find a way to go from paying taxes, which his UCP was doing, to reimbursing, but he also wanted to mitigate some of the risk. And so I'm sure a lot of you know self-insured comes with a lot of great benefits, but there is some risk. So he came up with 501c services, 501c agencies trust. It's the first grantor trust it started in 1982. About 15 years ago, we combined a couple different trusts and created what's now 501c agencies trust. We were serving about 25 nonprofits back in the early 80s. We're now, through all the various programs we offer, helping over 3,000 nonprofits. And in 2016, we became 100% employee owned. What I like about that is I think it really shows every person in the company. John, when he was ready to retire, sold it back to the company or back to the employees. Everybody in the company has a real deep connection to the company, a financial incentive, to do our best to help our members as best we can. And I really do believe when I talk to customers, I'll be out at conferences or other events and get to talk to customers, and the real satisfaction. They know our team. They know that they can pick up the phone. They don't get robots. They don't get, you know, dial this, dial that. They get real people and real support with their unemployment. So we're going to be sending this over to you. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this quickly, but just know that if you are interested in our services but want to know more about some of our members or testimonials or references, we can always provide that if you're evaluating our services. And here's just a snapshot of some of the many nonprofits that are using us. Some of them you might know some people at some of these organizations. So we have a very wide range of organizations that we help and support. So why 501 and what do we do? You've learned a lot about reimbursing. And like I said, even if you're paying taxes, you can enroll with us and benefit from some of these services. They don't all apply to tax paying organizations. But how we help, the first line of defense we have is claims management. We work with a program called Shield. You get your an email of your that a claim has been filed. You get that email, you log onto your portal, and you can manage your claim that way. What we look at this as, whether you're paying taxes or reimbursing, having someone help you manage your claims is really essential. There's not many other things that you go to court for that you wouldn't have someone supporting you. Very rarely do you have a dedicated person in your office managing unemployment claims. So this, for a very small fee, helps you have expertise at your fingertips for managing your unemployment claims and making sure you're not overpaying. We also offer HR services, which include HR consultation and a number of trainings throughout the years. So the HR consultations are one-on-one. We have a small team, so most likely you'll be working with the same person whenever you call us, and they can help walk you through questions, disciplinary, FMLA, any HR related question you might have. They're here to help you. And then we also offer outplacement services. This really goes back to paying dollar for dollar for an unemployment claim. You do want to keep that as low as possible. Weekly benefit amount is just over $600. Our average person that uses our outplacement services gets work 4 weeks faster. So what is that? 6, 12, 18, $2,400 that would save you if the average is worked out on your behalf. So $2,400 less you would pay. And you're also giving someone, in addition to the unemployment benefits, they're getting a safety net of helping them find their next job. We also offer stop loss protection as well as first dollar insurance. So if at any time you had massive claims, there is insurance protection available for our members. And then also savings. I'm sure the pandemic was extreme highs and lows of unemployment, but even through normal times, there's a lot of ebbs and flows of unemployment. So what the savings does is the 501, it's the trust part of 501c agency's trust. We suggest, it's not mandatory, but we suggest slowly and over time, members set aside a certain amount of money. The money in the reserve account belongs to that member agency. They can benefit from investment returns. Our last 10-year average has been about 4% investment return. So, you're not just giving us the money and it's money that can be withdrawn. It's really kind of just a dedicated reserve account for your unemployment that we manage on your behalf. So I hope all of this has piqued your interest. Whether you're paying in the state unemployment system or reimbursing, I'm happy to put together a proposal so that you can learn about our services. And maybe whichever way you're managing, maybe the other way works better. I was just talking to an organization this week that is paying 150,000 in claims, and if they go back to the state tax system, they'll be paying significantly less. So we can really help you analyze either way. Most of the time, it benefits to go from the state tax system to reimbursing. This scenario I just gave is definitely an outlier, but that does happen sometimes. And we can certainly help you do that and provide services to help you get a better hold of your claims if you have really high claims and are reimbursing right now. Um, it's pretty simple for me to do a cost analysis. All I would need is 4 quarters of your 941s, your Q3 through Q2, or your estimated payroll. I really like to have the backup because I like to be as precise as possible. But if you want to just send estimated payroll, we can work with that. And if you're paying SUI, your 2025 tax rate notice, if you can get 24, 23, and even 2022, so those 4 years of tax rate notices, that'll be super helpful. And I can do a pretty detailed analysis for you if you're able to provide all that backup. If you don't have it, but you have estimates, I can certainly provide something for you. It just might not be as precise. So again, I'm sorry that this was not live and that you were not able to ask questions, but I do hope you've taken advantage of this short um, briefing, short seminar, and we will certainly contact you. Janessa will be contacting you to answer any questions that you may have. So thank you very much. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it. And we are really looking forward to working with you and seeing if there's a good option for you. And I do want to say one last thing. We are going to be in Reno in September doing a presentation. We've got a Littler lawyer as well as one of our member services staff doing a combo. So if you have any interest in visiting us in Nevada while we're there, we'll definitely be sending information out to all of you. So thank you very much, and I look forward to meeting you in a live, not on demand fashion in the near future. Thank you.